Well, hey, this is the Good Dr. Glenn, and I am here with my partner and my friend, Yoav Ezer, also known as the Joint Venture Machine. How are you, Yoav?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Are you happy with your new nickname?
Yes, it's a wonderful nickname. Thank you. If you could get me a mug with the name, that would be the best.
Don't joke with me, I will. We want to talk today about how to approach and pitch joint venture partners for maximum impact, how to get the most bang for your buck. Just to remind you specifically about what we've already covered, we talked about building your list and promoting your products with joint ventures and why it was such a good model. We talked about how to combine joint ventures with surveys and marketing research to create products that are extraordinarily likely to sell, and how to find hundreds of suitable JV partners in your market. What we'll talk about today is how to get on a joint venture partner's radar, how to get her to trust and like you, and how to build up to a big promotion. You all need to kind of take a deep breath and swallow, is that none of this happens overnight. I know there are people out there telling you that it happens overnight. I know that everybody wants it to happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. And the truth is that if you could forge these powerful relationships overnight, then they would be vulnerable to be broken overnight as well. Just like with dating, it's the relationships that you put a little more time and effort into developing over a reasonable period of time that turn out to be solid, long-term, reliable relationships in your life. So the corollary would be the solid, long-term, lucrative joint venture that you can rely on year after year after year. And that's what you really want. And you got to go through the phases. You got to get them to know you got to get them to like you, and you got to get them to trust you. So what do we mean by giving it a little bit of time? A month is a reasonable time to make a significant effort and start to see some results. Not overnight, but in a month, I think that's a pretty reliable way to look at it. And I think that's actually good news. I think your competitors who are out there looking for joint ventures will think that it's bad news, which is even better news for you because you're going to be the ones that have the persistence and fortitude to court those relationships over the course of a month or more and make it happen.
Just to add to that, some relationships might take more time to create, and there's nothing wrong with it. If it takes you a couple of months or half a year to create a solid relationship with an influential person in your market, it's definitely worth it.
I think it took us 8 months to get Stephen Covey to work with us, so that was most certainly worth it, even just for the endorsement.
Yeah. How do you get on your partner's radar? How do you get them to know you? You mentioned getting them to know you as the first phase, so how do you get your partner to know you?
The best way to do that is to ask the joint venture machine, Mr. Yoav Ezer, to tell us why.
And I'll be happy to. You start by hanging out where they hang out. And most of the active bloggers and gurus and experts, they tend to want interaction from their audience. They either create their own forums or their own blogs, or Facebook groups are very popular these days, and they set up a environment where they can interact with what they call their tribe. And you just want to join their tribe as one of its members. You don't have to start off by being a shining star in the universe. Just join their tribe and start pitching in. So I'll give you an example. There's a group I'm a member of guest bloggers. They're meeting twice a week for an hour to discuss different stuff. I try to show up every time, but I can't manage it because I have other stuff to do. Just by showing up consistently over the last 3 months, I've already received 2 offers to guest blog in popular blogs. And I didn't lead a meeting. I wasn't a speaker at one of the meetings. Just by showing up and asking the odd question and contributing a bit from what I know, I got invited to guest blog. So it's not about coming in and being the brilliant shining star. It's about being consistently there. And that's the first phase.
Showing up is 99% of the battle. I just want to make a comment about that as a psychologist, that most people underestimate the fear involved in a new relationship. When someone first meets you, there's a concern that they're going to get harmed. And not everybody knows that the phenomenon of handshaking was originally developed to prove that you weren't carrying a weapon. So when you shook hands and you had a friendly greeting, that's been kind of forgotten in our modern culture, but originally it was proof that you weren't out to kill the other person. And there's a residue of that in the back of our minds. So people just have to know that you exist and you're not out to harm them. And the way that you do that is to hang around them, ask reasonable questions that don't really put people on the spot, and contribute value where you see an opportunity to contribute value. That's kind of the equivalent of you standing in their presence and shaking their hand and looking in the eye and saying, yes, that's right, I am not here to kill you, I'm here to help you.
Yeah. And another thing I want to say about this subject is that if you spot an influential partner in your niche that has a tribe, that has an active tribe, that has a way for you to engage with them, then you should prioritize that specific person over a different joint venture partner that's more aloof and that's harder to get to. Let me give you an example. There's this one guy, he's really a huge expert in the SEO world. He relies heavily on SEO traffic to build his business, and he doesn't really need the interaction. And you can spot it right away because his blog posts, when he interacts with the people and in his comments, it's like a matter-of-fact interaction. He says thank you and nothing else. If you think about him as a person, he's more of a scientific kind, logical person who really does the work to get the traffic and build his business. He doesn't seek out the interaction. And it's very hard to get him to respond to you. Even if you write a very long comment, a very thoughtful comment on his blog, you'll usually get a response that's 3 or 4 words.
He's a more introverted mad scientist.
Right. On the other hand, there's people that believe to their core in connecting with other people, believe that that's the way to do business, and they create the opportunities for you to interact with them. And those people are usually very well connected. They have a big following. People are attracted to them, and they're easier to connect with. So you want to zoom in on those people and use the open hand policy and just interact with them for a month or 2 to get them to know you, and then you can move on to the next level.
Sounds good. That makes sense.
Then there's the next level. Next level is getting them to like you. And getting them to like you can be very easy in some cases if they're very open to interaction and you're a friendly person and you interact with them on their blog or on their forum, and you take it to a different level. You ask them a question and they answer, and might be very easy, but it might be a bit harder. In that case, you can create a situation where you get personal time with them or personal interaction with them. Buying one of their products is a very good way to get on the radar and to get them to like you, because when you get down to it, we're all in this for the business and we want to make sales. That's a big part of what we do, and the customer is always welcome in our business. And when you buy a product from me, then you make me happy and I'll be much more inclined to interact with you. So buying one of my products brings you closer to the JV partner. You can get even closer to the partner by giving them a recommendation. Everyone wants to get a recommendation. If you give them a testimonial, if you send them a glowing email saying how much you like their product, you'll probably get another foot in the door. If they then ask you to use that recommendation, to use that email as a testimonial, then you're really on the next level of your relationship.
Can I say a few things about this?
Sure.
It's all very true. It goes way beyond the fact that money makes me happy that I like to have another customer. I get pitched a lot. I mean, a lot. And what someone who has actually bought my product and said something very specific about it, like maybe I can tell that they really watched the video in module number 6 and they had a couple of questions about it, and this specific thing was helpful and that specific thing was helpful and this other thing was confusing, it tells me that, first of all, they're willing to pay the price of admission. I always remember this video that I saw in health class, which was trying to teach us how to ask girls out. And there was this guy that was just like standing in front of the school saying, want to go out tonight? 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 And there was no personal connection in that relationship. And so what that tells me is you've taken the time and been willing to invest some time and energy and a little bit of money into choosing me as a potential partner. There is a feeling of reciprocity that comes up for me when I see that. I've had people buy products, tell me how great it was, and they didn't even know that that was a first kind of beta version of the product and it really wasn't so great. All of my products are good when they get out the door, but there are times when I'll put things out at a much lower price just to get the feedback and have real customers come through and then bring it to the next level. And they're actually complimenting me about something that I knew wasn't very good and that I was getting criticized about from other customers. Having someone who's very serious about going through the product and explaining what they like and what they didn't like, that tells me that's the kind of person that's going to be serious about our joint venture work together, because no matter how much my joint venture partner tells me, I'll do all the work, I'll write all the copy, you're not going to have to do anything but send this to your list and endorse it. To make a joint venture partnership work requires involvement on some level in the relationship, and what you're really hoping for is a joint venture partner that gets some traction, has some success, so you can work deeper with them and kind of integrate them into your inner circle. And so this type of approach really indicates that you're a serious player. You couldn't pay me to pitch to me. Like if it was just about the money, I'll say, Glenn, I'll give you $500. I want to talk to you for half an hour. I've got a pitch to make to you. You couldn't do that. I would say no to that. But if you spent $500 on one of my products and you really analyzed it and then you said you wanted a half an hour to talk to me, well, at the very least, I'm going to look at what you send over. At the very least. It's not a guarantee I'm going to do it, but I'm going to look at it.
Even a better level of commitment than going through the product, if you actually implement what your joint venture partner teaches in the product, and you come back and you say, hey, I did what you said, this worked, and this didn't, that's a whole new level of proof.
If you present a case study and said, like, you could even put this on your blog if you want, like, why wouldn't I put that on my blog? If it was, you implemented my methods and you got some success, and you showed that success with warts and all, so it made it very real to people, and they knew what worked and what didn't and where you were confused, why wouldn't I do that? What this all means is you need to rely on some of the things we talked about in earlier trainings of really taking the time to rank order the partners you want to go after and really know where you want to spend your energy. This is an 80-20 endeavor because you want to spend a lot of energy going after a small number of partners that you really, really want to work with. That's where you're going to get a much bigger bang for the buck. It's not like the cold calling philosophy where you're going to make 100 calls and get 5 people to work with you, and it doesn't really matter which 5. You want to make a list of your Dream 100 and isolate the 10 or 12 most important ones and go after them really hard. That's what I have to say.
Just 2 more things. If you can buy access and you have the money to do it, then it's a very good way to get closer to your joint venture partner. Hire her to coach you or consult to you on your product, even if it's just in a group setting. It's a definite shortcut. And actually, that's what we did when we started out. I got you to coach me.
You bought my product first.
Right. I bought your products first. And then I got into your coaching program, and that created the relationship.
That's true. And I'm so happy you did. I'm so happy.
Not just because of the money, right?
Not just because of the money, no. It's been a really nice friendship.
A couple of words again on blogs. Blogs offer a unique opportunity to interact. If you comment and add value to a blogger, then you get extra points. And if you use honest flattery, that's the best way to get a blogger to like you, and you have to be honest. I can't stress this enough. If you compliment someone and you don't mean it, then they'll spot it right away and you will have ruined the relationship. So when you give someone a compliment, mean it.
I agree.
What happens if you set your sights on a joint venture partner and they don't like you?
Well, everybody likes you, don't they?
No, not everybody likes me. And everyone at some point says something or does something that doesn't resonate well with the other party. Sometimes there's a mismatch in the type of person, and you just can't get along with the potential joint venture partner, and that's not a bad thing at all. You want to know why?
Of course I do.
Because you want to work with joint venture partners that like you. It makes for a much better partnership, a much more productive partnership. Even if they've got a huge audience and they can be a big leverage to your business, if you don't get along with them, if you find it difficult to work with them, then you should go on to the next partner. And that's why we made the training about how to find joint venture partners.
When I was a couples therapist, I used to tell couples it's a good thing they're attracted to each other. Because if a couple doesn't have that initial attraction, there are so many times over the course of a marriage that they just naturally want to kill each other. And if they don't have that initial attraction, it's hard to find something to draw upon to remember the love in the relationship. And I think that in business, you have to look forward to talking to your partner. You have to really enjoy the time that you spend with them. You have to want to see them as a friend and get up in the morning on Mondays and look at your calendar and see a bunch of meetings with people that you really look forward to working with. There are going to be problems. No matter what you do, there are going to be problems in business. There are going to be things that take longer than you expect. There are going to be things that don't work. There are going to be things that work really well. No matter how well you try to plan it, there are always going to be problems. And what will get you through is liking the other person, having that real camaraderie and feeling simpatico and like you're kind of after the same mission, at least to a certain extent.
And let's face it, if we wanted to work with people we don't like, we could have gotten a corporate job and had a boss and co-workers that we can't select. So one of the big benefits of having a business is that you can select the people you work with, and that's just not worth it working with people you don't like.
Yeah, if you're going to do that, you might as well get a job picking up after the elephants in the circus.
You might have liked that, wouldn't you? Okay, let's go on.
Right.
Once you get a person to like you, you don't want to remain in the friend zone for too long. Because if you remain in the friend zone for half a year, then nothing will happen. You become this friend that hangs around and you do nothing with. So you want to pitch your initial date, and that would be an information sharing offer. If it's a blog, offer to do a guest post. If they have a list, ask them if they can interview you about the topic you're an expert in. Contribute content, interview them. Whatever you do, make the first step towards creating a business relationship. Once you do that, then do that repeatedly until you create value for them. And that's an important point. Or if you convince your partner that you can help them, you offer to write a blog post, a guest post. The first guest post is fine, and do another guest post and another guest post until you create a successful guest post. One that goes viral, gets them a lot of link, gets them a lot of traffic. And that's the point where your relationship turns from a normal relationship into a good relationship, a valuable business relationship.
I just wanted to say that writing a guest blog is one of the best things you can do, but it's not the only thing you can do. I've had people who got into my inner circle by noticing holes in my operations, and they were really good at systems and documentation, and they said, hey, I think I can fix this for you, and it took a couple hours, and they wrote up something, and they told me how to implement it, and that was really helpful. There are people that might be good at customer service and offer to do a little work for them at a very low cost or for free or something like that. Some people might be good at product development. There are all sorts of things that are required in a business, and all you need to do is kind of look and figure out what your skills are and how you can help them. Running a business is kind of a madhouse. There is so much that goes on, and you're juggling so many hats and so many balls, and there's so many fires to put out that nothing is really optimized the way that it should be. You kind of focus on one thing a week or one thing a month or one thing a quarter to make it better, but there are all these things that are under-optimized, and if you have skills in any of those areas, then offer to help. And if you do a good job, you'll get to be important to that person, and they'll naturally want to try to help you. So not just writing, all kinds of other things.
I totally agree, but you need to remember to get the partner to know you first. You can't come out of the blue and offer to improve their SEO. No serious business owner would take you up on that offer.
Right.
If they don't know you.
Yes.
Cool. That's very cool. Okay, let's move on. The last thing I want to remind you before we go on is that building your list is just as important as promoting your product. I know we've said it repeatedly, but it's worth mentioning again. If you take the time to build your opt-in page and bit of your follow-up sequence, then getting people into your list can be just as good as a product promotion. So you might have to do a little bit of work to build your funnel, but then all those information sharing joint ventures are just as good as product promotions. And they're much easier to get, so that's a point I wanted to reiterate.
Very good. That's our training for today. I want to remind you that if you think, and I think that you should think, that joint ventures should be a viable channel in your business, it might even be the only channel that helps you get started, then you should be very seriously considering our comprehensive training below. And in the comprehensive training, we will talk about 4 more ways to approach a potential partner, one which is almost 100% guaranteed to work, another that has about an 80% uptake rate, and another that will get you instant credibility in your market so that the gurus and experts recognize you as one of their own. We'll talk about obliterating your fear of rejection. We'll help you make sure that you are ready to pitch so you don't go off half-cocked, and much, much more. And I want to remind you that when you cut to the chase, take the comprehensive training below before the timer expires, and during the Joint Venture Fast Track program, you will get lifetime access to the Joint Venture Insiders Club, which is full of people who are already actively looking to network and do business with you in the ways that we've described. They're simpatico with our philosophies because the only people that can join this club are the people who have purchased our comprehensive training. Helps you cut to the chase and get through 90% of the know, like, and trust process because you all know that you're like-minded to start with. If you wait until after the deadline, it'll be $250 a year beyond the price of the comprehensive training. And I also want to remind you that we do more than just throw you together in one big group. We have structured and facilitated networking on a monthly basis that during those networking meetings, we not only kind of coach you about how to present your offer, but we also record them and broadcast that to our buyers list. So it's kind of like getting exposure to possibly thousands of joint venture-minded people at the same time in audio format. It's a little bit like Shark Tank, right? You know the benefit of going on television and presenting your offer and what happens to those businesses when they have so much exposure. Well, we don't have the same exposure to the national network, but we do have access to thousands of buyers and growing, and we will periodically broadcast these tapes to that list, so help you kind of find joint ventures like that. And again, it's absolutely free along with the very reasonably priced regular training when you buy before the deadline when the countdown timer expires below. So I don't really understand why anybody wouldn't do this. There are other programs that are priced, I've seen $2,000 for something similar. We're charging a ridiculously low amount, and I think that you should hop on down, click on the button, buy the fully refundable Joint Venture Fast Track comprehensive training right now. So everybody do that right now, okay? Seriously, it's a good deal. It's a very good deal, and we'd love to have you on board if you really want to integrate joint ventures into your business. Okay, thanks.